Hello, my name is Raghav, and today I'll be discussing the programmable interval timer, specifically the Intel 8253 and the 8254, and their interfacing with the Intel 8085 microprocessor. So, Intel 8253 and 8254 are chipsets which are developed by Intel for a wide range of microprocessors. They are programmable interval timers. They contain a set of three 16-bit programmable down counters, TM0, TM1 and TM2. The word down counters means that the value given to them is subsequently decremented according to the clock signal also given to them. And another reason for calling them down counters is that they count down when the clock pulse goes from a high to a low. So that's another reason. They operate independently of each other, and they each can be loaded with a 16-bit value which is decremented till it reaches 0. Now, since 8254 is a higher or a more superior version of the 8253, it can take a clock signal up to 10 megahertz, whereas for 8253 it's just 2.6 megahertz. They have 6 different programmable modes, although during the course of this presentation we'll be focusing on just a single one of them, as I'll explain further later. So why do we need these timers when we are working with microprocessors like 8085? So it's commonly known that through software programming in 8085, it is indeed possible to give a delay through a software subroutine, which will introduce a preset delay. Now it's achieved by initializing a register or register pair through a subroutine, and then subsequently decrementing that count and then moving on with the program. Now, a very apparent and blatant problem in this is that during this delay, the processor is locked inside that delay loop and it cannot perform any other tasks no matter how long that delay goes on. So a very simple solution to that is using one of these programmable timers. They can easily alleviate this problem and would leave the processor free to perform other tasks while the timer takes care of the delay. So this is a pin diagram for the 8254. It is the same for 8253. I'll be explaining all of these pins in detail later, so you don't have to worry about that. We have 8 data pins, D0 to D7, which are used to input or output the data from the timer. For each of the 3 timers, we have 3 pins which are clock, out and gate. As we can see, 9, 10, 11 are for timer 0, 14, 15 and 13 I believe are for timer 1, and 16, 17, 18 are for timer 2. I'll be describing their functions later. We have the ground pin on number 12, and we have the VCC for 24, which is used to supply the 5 volt power to the chipset. The write, read, chip select and these 2 analog pins are used to decide or give the function or the operation mode for the chipset. I'll be describing their functions in detail as well. So let's start with the very simple data pins. The 8253 timer contains of an 8-bit bidirectional data bus. Now what this data bus does is that it interfaces the data bus of the 8253 through a bidirectional data buffer to the system data bus. The system here is our microprocessor or 8085. So basically it is used to exchange data between our chipset and 8085. There are 3 significant or 3 major uses of these pins. One, the very obvious, the loading the count value into the timers. That is passing on the value from which the decrement has to start and finally end at 0. Second is reading the count value from the timers. It's also possible, specifically only in 8254 I believe, to read the count value while it is being decremented. That is the present value of the counter. And the very important part, programming the modes of 8253. So what does this programming entail? So as we can see on the top row, there are our 8 data pins, and below that I have specified various configurations which can be used to program the modes of 8253. So the very first pin D0 is used to specify the counter value would be in binary or in binary coded decimal, BCD. So we use that. That is what D0 is used for. The next 3 pins, D1, D2 and D3 are mode selection bits. I'll be telling later on in the very next slide, I believe, what these modes are, but remember that we are only interested in mode 0. The D4 and D5 pins are used to specify the read and load option. Load here, of course, means write. Now the very first option, that is 00 in both D5 and D4, means latch count, which is basically a read operation. That is, the value from your counter is latched into your code. Now remember that this is a 16-bit timer and we have only 8 bits to work with. So to write a 16-bit value, we use these 2 bits. A configuration of 01 in D5 and D4 would mean that we are loading the least significant 8 values or least significant byte only. 10 would mean we are loading the most significant byte, and 11 means that we are loading the least significant byte, and then the most significant byte. D6 and D7 are used to select the counter. That is the counter for which these specified settings are to be made active. 00 would mean counter 0, 01 means counter 1, 10 means counter 2, and 11 is illegal or not allowed. Now, as I mentioned earlier, D1, D2 and D3 pins are used to select one of the 6 modes. Now what exactly are these modes? I have specified them here. So the 8253 can be used for a variety of operations. It could be used to give an interrupt when the count gets over. It could be used as a programmable one-shot, as a rate generator, as a square wave generator, or a software or a hardware triggered strobe. Now remember, we are only interested in this one, the mode 0, during the course of this presentation, which is used to get an interrupt on the terminal count. What is gate control, I'll be explaining later. And remember that no reloading of the count value happens in this mode. So let's move on to the timer pins. So the Intel 8253 has 3 sets of pins each for these 3 16-bit counters used to send input and receive output directly from these 16-bit counters without using the data channel that is running between the microprocessor and the timer, of course. So the first of these 3 pins is clock. It provides the timer with the signal that causes it to decrement its value in fixed intervals. So as I mentioned earlier, for 8253 this could be a maximum of 2.6 MHz, while for the 8254 it could go as high as up to 10 MHz. Now the gate is used to initiate or enable counting. Now its effect depends on which one of the 6 modes we are using. So as we saw earlier, a 0 on gate disables the counting, while 1 would enable the timer or the counting for the mode 0 in which we are interested. Now the out, or the third timer pin, is used to provide an output from the timer. Now what sort of output could this be? This could be the present value of the timer, as I mentioned earlier. So the next sort of pins we'll be discussing are the read-write control pins. The first of these is the CS or chip select pin. It's an active low pin, and what it basically does is enable the data bus buffer and so the communications between your microprocessor and the 8253. So as long as it is in the high state, your timer will not function. The next is the read pin. It is an active low pin, and when active, that is at the low state, the CPU would read the data from the 8 data pins of the 8253. Next is the write pin, again active low, and when active, the CPU can either write the count value or the mode information into the 8 data pins using the bidirectional data buffer. The last types are the analog pins A0 and A1, which are used to select one of the 3 16-bit timers for the read-write operations, as I'll explain now. So this is your basic architecture for this chipset. You have your data bus buffer on the very top left, which is interfaced to the 8 data pins and to the internal bus, which is also running through your microprocessor. You have your read-write logic, which is connected to the data bus buffer. It takes in inputs that are read, write, the analog pins, which are used to select one of the 3 counters, and the chip select, which basically enables the entire chipset. It's also it gives the command to the control word register, which basically issues the command to the counter as to what to do next, either read or write or to input a mode. You have the 3 counters here, TM0, TM1 and TM2, each with 3 individual pins. 2 of these are input, that is the clock and the gate pin, and 1 is an output, that is your out pin. These 2 are connected to your internal bus. Now we move on to the various modes of operation that are possible in our device. So remember that CS, the chip select pin, is an active low pin. So basically the device will only function if it is in the logic level low state. So we set it to 0. We set the read pin to 1 and the write pin to 0. Remember, these both are also active low pins. So this means that the timer is currently in a write operation state. A0 and A1 are used to select the counter. So 0, 0 on these would mean a selection of counter 0. And this entire second row of this table indicates an operation that is writing to counter 0. Similarly, if we don't change these first 3 columns and input 0 and 1 for A0 and A1, we would be selecting counter 1 and performing a write operation, and 1, 0 would mean writing to a counter 2. Now remember, if you input 1, 1 on A0 and A1, it would not mean moving on to a counter 3 since there are only 3 counters here. It would mean writing the mode word. Now what is this mode word? I have already mentioned before. It entails the programming mode in which we want the counter to function. Similarly, if we change the read bit to 0 and write to 1, this would mean a read operation as they are both active low. 0, 0 would select counter 0, 0, 1 would select counter 1, and 1, 0 would select counter 2. Now as it is not possible to read a mode word, 1, 1 operation gives a high impedance state to the buffer and so doesn't give a logical output. If we set the chip select, which is an active low pin, to 1, no matter what we input in all these other pins, it would give a high impedance state, as it would disable the entire chipset, disable the data bus buffer basically, and so in turn the chipset. Now in the very last row, what we can see is a high 1, 1 logic level given to read and write. This again is not allowed and gives a high impedance buffer state in the operation. Lastly, we will be discussing the interfacing of this 8253 chipset with 8085 microprocessor. Now 8 of the pins of 8085 with both analog and digital functionality are connected to the 8253 timer both through the latch, that is 74LS373, and independently. Now the ones connected without the latch, that is the D0 to D7 pins, are connected to the digital pins or the data pins of 8253, which are bidirectional in nature, and so they are used to both send and receive the data, 8-bit data from 8253. The other analog pins connected through the latch, 2 of them are used to input values into the A0 and A1 pins. Now if you remember correctly, A0 and A1 pins were used to decide which timer is to be used from 8253. In this example, we are using timer 0, so we will be giving 0 values to both A0 and A1, that is 0, 0. Now the A8 to A15 pins along with the IOM pin are connected through a decoder to the chip select pin of 8253, and so they are basically used to enable the entire chipset into functionality, that is 8253. Now the read and the write pins of 8085 are directly connected to the read and write pins of 8253. They are used to decide the functionality, whether read or whether write, the mode basically in which 8253 would operate. And as they are active low on either sides, no inverter is attached in between. Now, as we are using timer 0 in this example, we'll be working with 3 of its pins, that is clock 0, gate 0 and out 0. Now we need to give a clock signal at clock 0. This can either be done through the microprocessor itself, that is 8085 here, or through an external clock crystal. Gate 0, as we discussed earlier, when we are operating in program mode 0, gate 0 is simply used to disable or enable the counter. And the out 0 pin. Now in program mode 0, the out 0 pin gives an interrupt as soon as the counter has decremented to its final value, that is 0. And this interrupt is high, and that is is active high, and the interrupt in 8085 is also coincidentally active high. So again, we don't need to attach any inverter between these two, and we can directly connect out 0 to one of the interrupt pins of 8085, which is RST 5.5 in this case. That's it from my side. I hope I have successfully explained the interfacing and the functioning of timer 8253 and 8254 with microprocessor 8085. Thank you.